Good morning. Hand today is going to be pocket nines. We're in early position in a 10 NL game, and we have early position limps, and I raised to 5 as an ISO. Now, we're not going to spend much time on this player because he folds to the ISO, but it is good to talk about what kind of ranges are players doing this with. So right off the bat, I have 2,000 hands with him. He's playing 40-13 with a 5% 3-bet range. If we just look at his stats here, his early position raise first in stats 14%. 15% is the raise first in stat. Limp first in stats 25%. Definitely pretty wide. He's looking at like 40% of hands or so. So we're looking at like a range 20-some percent. We could look at like what we have here. So I've got limp shove, big blind, 6 big blind ISO for 30 with 9s. So he's probably limping with these pocket pairs, probably instead of raising, unless he's looking for something big. You've got 3-bet range, it's like all over the board. You got 4-bet range, it's really tight. You got called 2-bet from the blinds. What we're looking at is like called 2-bets out of position. Called 3-bets out of position, ace, queen 9. In position will be a little bit looser. Limp and called to raise, that's what we're looking at. Eights and 2s. You got the suited aces, looks like he didn't raise with ace queen, which is strange. Looks like king 9 suited. You could see 9-5 suited, 9-6 suited. Just kind of looks like he's going to play suited hands if there's a chance for him to make a straight. The offsuits, he's going to play high offsuits, and then it looks like suited connectors, suited one gappers. So we're looking at, like, for the offsuit, something like this, and I bet he limps with those, and maybe even ace queen. We could scale this down. Let's say 50% ace queen, because then I'm also going to do 50% ace queen with there, because he did use that as a limp call. But we're going to have to give him all of the suited aces, all of the suited kings, probably all the way down to this. So we are at 32%, which still seems a little wide, and we didn't even give the pocket pairs yet. So I think if we start scaling this and saying some of the times he's gonna limp, and probably like limp raise with those hands. Same thing, I'm gonna say like ace 10. We could throw those in somewhat. It gets us to 33%, maybe the king queens 50%, maybe the ace jack off. Mixing in, but something really wide, and that leaves our ISO raising range. Like, we could be super tight, like we always ISO with that, which 9s are, or we can add on some of the extra ones like 8s and 7s. And I think versus a player like this, if he limps under the gun, we're going to do the optional ISO range as well. We're going to do a wider raise to 5. Folds around the small blind, he calls, and then this guy folds. So we're done with this player. This next player is going to have an equally wide range. He looks loose. He looks a little bit more passive. I've got 0 out of 56 for a 3-bet. I do have a 3-bet range of jacks. That's in his notes, so that happened beyond like the 12 weeks that this is limited to. So if we just look at his overall stats, we have pre-flop call 43% from the small blind. That's 3 out of 7. I'm just putting together something like this. He's out of position. I do expect jacks plus ace queen, or ace queen suited ace king to be 3-betting. So we're at 34%. That's probably about right. Something pretty big. Pretty big. Flop comes down to ace king 3 with 2 hearts. That obviously hits my range. It can also hit his range. He's got all those suited aces, suited kings. He checks. He has a lot of hands that I think he's going to fold. So if I bet here, and we're betting to just to kind of buy our equity, probably, we would probably value bet some. Definitely value bet with like ace X, value bet with flush. Actually, let's do this. It's value bet. Sets, 2-pair, top pair, I think we're value betting. And then I think we're including flush draws, we're including the gut shots. We are including probably these 2-card backdoor flush draws. They're most of them are high. They're going to give us, some straight potential as well. We need more hands here. I know nines aren't going to be good if we get called. So I do think we're at 53%. We need to do more. So like this middle pair is semi-value, but then like these pocket pairs below are kind of a little bit more value. And I think then you could throw in, you can kind of get rid of all those that don't really have anything. We just check behind. That's probably going to be our C betting range. I'm not sure if GTO likes it. I'm kind of guessing GTO is going to want us to be a little bit more cautious, but then again, the looser the opponent is, the more we should be betting, because he has to dump a lot of his hands. He's going to connect weakly with boards, not necessarily this one, but a lot of boards he'll connect weakly with them. We'll get a lot of value from him when he has like middle pair, bottom pairs, and so forth. So I did see bet. I bet small. That's not bad. I think that size might be about right. And villain calls. So what does he call with? And I did mean to do this before we continued. We're going to say top pair, middle pair. He's going to call with a flush. He's going to call with a gut shot. That's at a minimum. I don't think he's going to be calling with those under pairs. I think the king is just going to be hard for him to fold. He turns to second pair. If I bet the turn, he might give up on that king, and we could actually weight it and say maybe it's 50% chance that he folds just based on his fold to C bet. I guess we should look at sizes here, and same thing, this limper was 35. If I raised, or when I ISO'd, if he was going to come over the top, I'm probably going to give up because of that limp shoved with nines. He's probably doing it with pocket pairs, and I'm probably behind to a higher pocket pair at that point. If he 3-bet me, I'm probably calling him because I'll be in position. And he didn't have the opportunity to limp. Here he's got 30 big blinds left. We just bet. Pot's going to be 20. So it's going to be stacked pot of little over 1, like 1.2 maybe. No, 1.5 stacked pot ratio on the turn. I don't think we're committed yet. So I think we've got the calling range. There's the 5. I do think it's empty. He checks. I think we bet again. So I'm going to go back here based on that sizing. I think if we bet 6, so I like the 33% because it's less risk knowing that he has a bunch of aces and I don't have an ace. So I like that. And then we're at here, and the question is, how do we proceed? If we do 10 and he calls, that's going to give a pot of 40, and there's going to be 20 left, so it's going to be a half pot bet on the river if we happen to connect, and that might actually be good. Now we've got a problem because we don't have the 9 of hearts. So villain checks. I do think he's checking everything. I check behind. Is that appropriate? I still think I'm betting top pair plus. I think I'm going for value with all of those. I think middle pair is going to be checking. I think we're checking all of those. Flush draw, I do think we're betting these. And I think we could probably get by with a gut shot draw as well. So I think that's going to be what we bet. And since I didn't, I checked. And the idea being that if we bet, we're expecting villain to call with his top pair plus now and his flush draw and straight draws, open ender. So we think we're getting 50%. I think we probably don't have enough bluffing cards in our range, but I think we're going for some value at this point. So I don't mind checking. I think we're behind. We're turning, maybe we have to turn some of our cards into a bluff, and for that, maybe it's the weak pair that we have to turn into a bluff, but that includes all the hearts. So what we would be looking at would be these pocket pairs less than the second card, which would be, these pocket pairs less than this. Yeah, so we don't have any of those weak pairs. We'd be looking at these, and probably 7s and 8s would be more likely to bet as a bluff. Include those in the bluff range because we might not have a huge amount of showdown value, whereas like queens, jacks, and 10s, maybe we have some. I mean, at least we beat under the under pairs. But I really don't think so. I think if we're gonna bluff, I think we go with like the 9-8 or the 10-9 clubs. We've got no backup. Those are just pure bluff. Let's keep our pocket pair, because if we pair up or catch trips, we might be good. So let's get these out, and I'm going to X those. So that's our range. That's he's got 100% because he checked. River's the 8 of hearts. I think that's bad. I don't think it helps me. If that was a 9 of hearts, if villain checks, I'm probably betting. I do think ace-x is going to call, so we could get a little bit of value. But villain checks. The question is, would he check a flush? I don't think he would check the nut flush. But I think he would check everything below that. So he checks. What's my plan? I don't think I could win, and I don't think I could get him to fold. So if we take out these, because I think he would have bet those, I bet he calls everything top pair plus 43%. And I beat, or 47%, I beat 53%. Maybe it's a bluff. Maybe I turn my hand into a bluff because I don't expect to win. Those are at the very bottom. Whereas with the kings, I have a chance to beat some of those other kings. Well, he shows king jack. I think we possibly could have gotten him off had we bet again on the turn. And if we bet here on the river, it's questionable whether he calls. Is king jack in his range? Yeah, I did have it in his range. That's in the middle pair. I had king jack off, so we do have that. So let's go ahead. Let's run this. I think this is actually a favorable flop. We're in position. I think we're going to go ahead and c-bet that most of the time. So I do think my flop play was okay. I'm curious about that turn play. So we'll do both. We'll check both out. So it was an ace of clubs, king, and 3 of hearts, I believe. Yep. We're going to build the tree. Starting pot, 12. Effective stack is 34, I believe. Okay. We are going to do the advanced. We're going to do default bet sizing is 50%. Build tree, okay. We are going to edit our tree because I want to add another bet sizing, probably 2 bet sizings. We're going to use a 66%. Accept changes. Run solver. We're going to run solver and we'll be back. All right, we're done. So out of position, should be checking. We're betting. 73%, so a little bit more frequency than what I expected. I think queens, jacks, and tens having some checking range is interesting. Aces, with the ace of hearts, I can understand that, so it's good to kind of recognize that and point that out. And the reason you got the ace of hearts, less likely a villain's going to have the nut flush draw, so the question is what hands is he going to call with? So we're kind of slow playing with those a bit. King 10, just weaker hands. Nines can be a bet. Definitely more likely to bet when we don't have the heart, so I think we were good with that. Villains calling. And let's check out the turn report here. So for player 1, there's a lot of hands that it doesn't like to see. A lot of decent hands here. So when we think about like what hands should be betting, he looks like he's betting a lot with the king. If the king comes out, bets, and I think that's reasonable. I think King X is going to call. Same thing with like Ace X. I think he could lead a little bit, but overall it's going to be a lot more checks than betting. What about player 2? So if player 2 checks, we're looking at betting 81% of the time, big time with the queens, jacks, tens, nines, eights, and sevens. You can see we are favoring bets with the low cards. We had a 5 of spades come out, so looks like we're betting quite frequently on those. Aces and kings, surprisingly, aren't too good for us, and I guess I understand it makes it less likely that we have it, and even if we did, it's going to be hard for the villain to call. The hearts aren't particularly good for us, so let's go ahead and check to see what hands play. So he does check again, and then for us it looks like we do check most of the time, although we're favoring betting when we don't have the heart. So yeah, it's kind of what I was saying, where I think we could bet the nines. I was saying it for the bluffs we can include 7/8. Looks like the nines are there as well, tens and jacks, and those are all just to kind of balance our big hands that we're still betting. So we're still betting 3 of a kind, we're still betting 2 pair, we're still betting top pair for value, and then we're including some of these for bluffs. And definitely it's better when we don't have the heart, because it makes more hearts available for villain's hand. So we could bet, or we could check, just like we did. And then we had the 8 of hearts. And I did think villain was going to bet the flush. I thought he was going to bet just the nut flush. So he checks, and now it's on us. What do we do? And GTO suggests we just check behind with a 9. And I think that kind of makes sense. So it's not too bad. Oh, I screwed up the edit trees. Let's take those out. Let's put a check there, because we want this 33%, and we want 66%. We know the general. Let's change bet size. See if our 3/4 size bet was okay. So we'll run the solve and be back. All right. So we got the check here. It's on us. GTO likes a 1/3 and half. So I did a 1/3. I think that's appropriate. When we just look at the breakdown, it looks like we're good. It's about evenly split between 1/3 and half bet size. So it does look like the 1/3 might be favored a little bit more. Not so much for the nines. For our aces. So, okay, that's good. That's good to know. What about the turn? Let's go back here. We're on the turn. We have so let's update these. And we will have to edit our tree as well. So now what we're doing is updating the range that I think we have and villain has. We're going to build the tree. Now we're going to get it set for the turn. So we had 20. 30 was the effective stack. Okay, built the new tree. We're going to edit it. So, oops, we're going to import the tree, confirm. Okay, so we're going to check there. And we're going to check here. So I know we bet when we bet, but we need to get to the turn because we have those ranges on the turn. So now we're going to leave the bet there. We're going to say he checks because we do expect him to check. But now what we're going to do is we're going to add more sizing. So I did 50%. What if I do a 33%? And let's do 100%. Actually, no, because the pot would have been big. 66%. And it was 150%. So that would be like shoving them all in. Actually, let's do that 75%. Okay, accept changes. We're going to run this solver and we'll be back. All right, rain quickly. We're checking. We're getting to the 5 of spades. He checks 100%. And it still looks like we're checking mostly based on our ranges that we assigned. Checking mostly with the 9s. We do have some betting. When we're betting, it looks like half pot is the favored action. Very few 1/3 pots. With aces, yes, it looks like we're favoring those 1/3 and half, but we're going small. Nothing really looks like we're betting the big. Some of these are interesting. We're betting like ace queen. That's so ace queen with no hearts, trip kings with no hearts, ace queen. Kind of regardless if we have the ace of hearts. I guess if we have the ace of hearts, we're not gonna really get called by heart draws. So yeah, overall it looks like half pot bet would have been appropriate if we were gonna make a C bet, just like generally speaking, or a turn barrel. But the 9, we could check it or we could bet it somewhat. So, all right, that's the hand. Hopefully you enjoy this. If you do, you can look tomorrow for another one.